Welcome to the RV Game Changer Show with Uncle Bernie. Brought to you by Campers Inn RV, the RVer's trusted resource. If you're interested in RVs as a consumer, service provider, or as a manufacturer of RVs, this show is for you. Here we talk to RV experts, RV manufacturers, lifestyle influencers, service providers, charitable organizations, and component providers with a sole purpose to make RVing more fun and exciting and easier for you and your family. Please subscribe to RV Game Changer with Uncle Bernie on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Of course, find us by searching at RV Game Changer on YouTube. Let's see what we can do to make your life better this week on RV Game Changer. In today's episode of RV Game Changer, we will be joined by Jarod Lippert, the Chief Marketing Officer at Lippert, a leading manufacturer of RV parts and accessories. He'll be sharing his insights into the company's origins, its remarkable evolution, and the various subsidiaries that Lippert has collaborated with in recent years. And later in the episode, we will be speaking with Keith Kames, Technical Sales Manager from Lippert's Furrion division, and Melissa Farmer is here as well, Director of Marketing for Lippert, and Keith will provide an in-depth look at what makes the new Furrion Chill Cube RVAC a revolutionary RV game changer for enthusiasts everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to RV Game Changer. Jarod, Melissa, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And it's interesting to note that your last name kind of aligns with the name of the company you represent, right? Could you please share a little bit about yourself and your role at Lippert?
Yeah, sure. I'm third generation Lippert family here. My grandfather started the company in 1956. My father ran it from 1977 until 2003, and my brother Jason has been running the company since then. So,
wow.
I'm the chief marketing officer here. I started the company about 24 years ago. So in the last 24 years, I've definitely seen a lot of growth. When I started, we were about a $200 million company, annual revenues, and at one point in time we hit $5 billion. We're about a $4 billion company now. So it's a lot of growth in just 24 years. So it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. It's such an extraordinary story there. But before we get started more into the evolution of Lippert, let's meet up with Melissa Farmer. Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Lippert.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Farmer. I've been here going on 5 years, and I am the Director of Marketing for our aftermarket products for our RV, marine, and our outdoor consumer segment of the business.
Fantastic. And thanks for joining us today on RV Game Changer. Now, Jarod, with nearly 70 years, Lippert has been established for many, and it's just such a rich history. Could you provide us with a brief overview of how the company started and what it's evolving to today?
Yeah, it started in 1956. My grandfather got back from World War II. He ended up working in the manufactured housing industry. It was just kind of starting up in the middle of Michigan, where I was born and raised, Alma, which is kind of by Central Michigan University, for those who don't know where that is. And worked for this company for a while, and eventually went to the owner and said, "Hey, I can make your roofing product better than you can. Why don't you give me a chance? I'll start my own company." And the rest kind of from there is history. He went on to start that company, which was called B&L Industries, which turned into Lippert Components eventually after a couple of years. And a couple of years after the roofing business started, he started the manufactured housing chassis business, again in Alma. And really, the company from that point on until honestly 1997, my dad took it over in 77, as I said before, and we were still just a manufactured housing supplier all the way up until the late 90s. My brother had started working for the company in 1994, again, working on the manufactured housing side. But in 97, he went to my dad and said, "Hey, I don't know why we can't make RV chassis. It's pretty similar." So we had an opportunity with a manufacturer in Pennsylvania that gave us a shot at making some RV chassis. that was successful. And then Jason returned back to Indiana from Pennsylvania and started a couple RV chassis lines here. There was a couple customers that were just getting started that people probably know their names now, Keystone RV and a couple others that were just getting their footing. And they gave us a chance. And that's kind of what this history is all about, is some customers gave us a chance, and we delivered and exceeded expectations, and we gained their trust. And as we gained trust in chassis, we started to manufacture other products. They come to us and say, "Hey, what could you guys make axles?" Sure, we could make axles. Started an axle line in 2004, and could you make leveling systems? Sure, we could do that. We'll hire the experts. We'll bring on the necessary team members, and from that, it just kind of grew into RV components. And then, fast forward to the Great Recession. 2009, we figured out really fast that we needed to diversify outside of RV and manufactured housing. So we started to get into transportation products. We started to get into marine. We started to get all over the place. And then we started getting an aftermarket about 2012. So that's only been about 12 years since we really, started hitting the pound of the pavement with aftermarket products.
Oh yeah, I send my customers there all the time to pick up, if they want a replacement furniture or if they need certain components. You folks have a retail store on Lippert.com, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And furniture was 2008. We just kept getting into different product lines that our customers were coming to us and saying, "Hey, we don't have a lot of options here. We'd like another player to enter the industry and give us another option." And what we've proven over time is when we put time and resources and expertise behind a product, we typically end up winning and being successful. So, and then, later on in 2019, 2020, we acquired the Kurt Group, which was our largest acquisition to date. That gave us the towing side of the RV equation, so all the tow bars and hitches and things like that. And
Wow.
Furrion came right after that, so that got us into HVAC and appliances and cameras and things like that. So, yeah,
Two magnificent companies that you partner with now. One of the things that seems to be kind of in the news, or at least where I watch the news, right, is that company culture is really an important part of how you folks do business. And it's part of your mission and vision. What contributes to Lippert's strong reputation for employee retention and satisfaction?
Yeah, commitment. So in 2012,
and Melissa, you can jump in when you're ready too. So
in 2012, I called it the cultural revolution inside the company. So 2012, we started really looking at attrition as a figure that we kind of really pay close attention to. The RV industry is tough. Elkhart County's tough.
Oh yeah, the jobs seem to fly back and forth, and people move jobs all the time, and the training and the technology changing. There's so much to it. Yeah,
and people can walk down the street and get another job for $1 more or a nickel more. They'll do it. So we had to get really intentional in 2012 about, okay, so knowing that it's going to be always difficult to retain people, how do we make Lippert the destination, the employer choice in the county, because we're all fighting for the same couple thousand people, right? So we started a cultural revolution. We started hiring leadership and culture and leadership professionals that train leaders how to lead, because I don't think you really get taught that in school. Nobody really put you through a leadership.
You're not born with this great leadership ability, right? It needs to be
You're
taught.
not born, no. And so you've got to learn it, and sometimes having a coach helps. So we've got a team of coaches. We started focusing on philanthropy as a pillar of the company. So encouraging everybody in the company to go out and donate their time to local charities, wherever that might be. And to date, we've donated over 1 million human hours of community service since we started the initiative, which I think is pretty cool. So it's all intentional. It's not by it's by design. And knowing that we just, in order to survive in this industry, we've got to do things like this, or else we're going to lose people, and that's the last thing we want. So
It seems like you really want to, well, not that you're trying to so much as people really enjoy being part of something kind of bigger than themselves, right?
Mhm.
They're part of the community. And Melissa, could you kind of elaborate a little bit, perhaps, on how integral Lippert seems to be with the local communities in which they inhabit and how they do that?
Yeah. Everything or anything that you want to do in regards to organizations you're involved in or community service that you want to do, Lippert truly supports that. I don't live in Elkhart County. I live in St. Joe County, which is just the county next door, and I'm very involved in that county and the
Mhm.
community that I live in. And Lippert is very supportive of that in regards to helping us, build homes. We do a lot of that with Habitat for Humanity. The Boys and Girls Club are very involved in. And so it's nice to know for things that are passionate to me that my company supports me doing that.
Well, that's fantastic. So they let you kind of determine what direction you want to do, and then they kind of jump on board with you. Is that how that works?
Yep, absolutely. And so, if you are a leader in this company, one thing that they ask you to do is to lead some sort of a community service event. And so, last year and this year as well, the team that I work with, we are going out and working for Habitat for Humanity and helping build a home. And so we do a lot of that. The Cultivate food place, we do a lot with them as well at volunteering our time, cleaning up local parks. So pretty much anything that you want to do for community service, it's nice that you can ask people in your department, people in the company, and they will come out with you and chip in and help you build a home.
That is fantastic. So, it seems so to make that kind of mandatory somewhat, but it creates and reinforces that sense of community. And everyone wants to jump on board. And I've seen the pictures. People are smiling. People are happy. They're joyful about all these changes, right? And all these things that you can do to help the community. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Anything further, Jarod, on the
Yeah, I
challenge?
mean, just on that subject, a lot of people don't know we have a couple thousand team members in Europe, specifically in northern Italy and Tuscany,
Wow.
and culture is different over in Europe. In America, we don't have a government that necessarily supports every facet of life like they do in Italy with the socialist government. um, you know, Volunteering and community service really isn't a thing over there. They when we presented them with, hey, you guys need to get involved with this, they were like, well, why? The government just takes care of all that. Why would we go out and do that, right? So even in a culture like Italy, we've had to kind of change mindsets, and I'm telling you, they love it. It's fantastic. They're doing an amazing job over there, and donating their time and efforts into various projects in Italy. And I think that's a really cool thing, because we've actually changed a cultural mindset that's existed for a really long time, and we're spreading that to other cultures.
Oh, that's wonderful. They probably didn't realize what they were missing,
Yeah.
and the sense of fulfillment that you get when you reach out and help a neighbor, right? It's got to be amazing. And whether it be a church or some other organization that needs your help, I'm so glad that Lippert does that. And they also recognize their employees a certain way too, right? They go out of their way to recognize and to acknowledge people that go above and beyond and learn. Is there any examples that you can come up off the top of your head about something like that?
I mean, yeah. Well, first of all, we've eliminated the word employee from the vernacular of Lippert, so we say team.
Okay,
So when we
perfect.
talk about our people, we say team members. Tons of recognition, things that we do as a company. And the one thing I'll just mention is every January, right after the holidays, we bring in each division within the company, which there are several, and we do awards nights, and these are all nominated by your peers, and we bring in catering, and we make a big deal about it. It's a nice formal dinner, and we just we announce winners of different awards that are based on our core values, honesty, integrity, candor, all these different core values that we have. So each individual wins an award, and there's probably 10 to 12 winners per night, and this goes on for 2 weeks, and really it's after the holidays, everybody's kind of not depressed, but the fun time's over and it's back to January. But this gives people a little bit of a boost going into the new year, and really sets focus for the new year with all the goals and objectives that we set. It really gives them a boost of energy going into that.
That's right. It's a nice way to start the year off and kind of re-energize the team and get them back. Now, Lippert initially, as you mentioned, was recognized for its chassis making, and then over the last 20 plus years has really evolved into many other products. And I know we're going to be talking to Keith in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how that acquisition and partnership with Furrion came about, and what is it leading to today?
Well, the partnership actually came about well before the acquisition. So when Furrion burst onto the scene, we were naturally drawn to each other. They were very aggressive. We're very aggressive. They had some great ideas, and so they had some great market penetration of being a very young company. And so we actually partnered with them early on to be their sales arm. They were the innovation, marketing, and distribution arm. And then COVID kind of hit, and then after that, we started talking to them again. It's like, hey, why don't we acquire you, and we can be one family. So after many months of conversations and negotiations, we acquired the company in 2021, and the rest, as they say, is history. So
that's fantastic. Hello, Keith. Welcome to RV Game Changer. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and what is your role at Furrion?
So I'm the technical training manager, and basically I'm a liaison between sales and tech. I do a lot of the trainings at trade shows. I go to dealers, do trainings there, and then I do webinar trainings as well.
Fantastic. It sounds like you have a lot to do. So
usually it keeps me busy, definitely.
All right, excellent. Hey, when I saw this new product that Furrion had developed, I said, I got to get these folks on the RV Game Changer. It's the Chill Cube, this brand new AC that came out recently, and it has some marvelous claims here. I'm going to just show it here on the screen for a little bit. But yeah, the Chill Cube, and I want to hear from you why this thing is such a game changer.
Okay, there's a lot actually. So usually from the customer base, usually your top 5 concerns are going to be power consumption, noise, does it get cold enough, does it get cold enough fast enough, airflow, and then of course ease of installation. Right. But first and foremost, one of the biggest things to talk about is that it's 18,000 BTU. So most of the units that would be found in the market currently and up till now have been a 13.5 and a 15. So this is 18,000 BTU, so 3,000 more BTU. So obviously a lot more cooling power.
Right.
But the secret sauce to this thing is really the variable speed compressor. And with a variable speed compressor, it can basically tune to the room that it's in, and it's a heck of a lot more energy efficient. So a typical AC is going to have a single speed compressor on there where it's either 100% on or off. And it cycles that way to maintain temperature. Where a variable speed compressor, it can obviously vary in speed. It's more like a screw compressor is what they call it. So it can work anywhere from around 20% to 100% of its capability. So couple of things. It can cool the room down extremely quick, going up to 100%. Once it meets that temperature, or the room temperature or set temperature, then it can basically back off and conserve a lot of energy.
Just to kind of maintain. So tell us a bit about what kind of amperage it requires at full consumption and versus, some of the lower speeds or lower when it dials down a little bit.
So that's always the number one question I get is how much current is it actually going to pull?
Right.
So
right.
on the tech sheet, you'll find 15.2 amps. Now, that being said, I have never seen anywhere near 15.2 amps.
Really?
The most I've personally seen is around 12 amps, 12, 13 amps, which, by the way, is extremely, extremely efficient.
So now, that's almost about half of what a typical AC will draw when it first turns on.
Well, actually, when it first turns on, a typical AC is going to pull anywhere from 35 to 45 amps for about 10 or 15 milliseconds. This pulls 3.8 amps. So do the math on that as far as the difference at startup amperage. A lot of customers have had to add soft start kits and things like that because it really taxes the electrical system. So with this unit, when it first turns on, the fans turn on first, then your compressor turns on. But because it's a variable speed compressor, it turns on very slowly, so you don't get an inrush of current when the unit turns on.
Yeah, you could kind of create a little brownout or trip the breaker at the pole or whatever it may be, right? There's different risks there, but more so, you can still use the rest of your camper when your AC's on.
Absolutely. So just to kind of give, the customer base a reference, a flat screen TV pulls about 2 amps. So this is basically like having less than 2 TVs on when this thing turns on. It is literally unheard of as far as the energy consumption of this unit, especially during turn on. So soft start kits and things like that have been very prevalent in the industry. Definitely not needed. You can run this thing on a 2,000 watt generator without any issue. You can obviously run them on a 30 amp service unit or a 50 amp service unit, obviously multiple units on a 50 amp service unit. So, when you say game changer, this segment's called Game Changer. This is literally a game changer to the market. All ACs to this point have been single speed compressors. And with this one having the variable speed compressor, there's nothing like it in the industry. Just to give you another point of reference, refrigerators have used variable speed compressors for years. So think of the RV as a large refrigerator, right? As you close the door a bunch of times on a refrigerator, obviously that compressor is going to speed up and it's going to cool down that refrigerator. Same with an RV. If you were to open windows, open doors, introduce more people into the rig, obviously things that create heat, is all it's going to do is tune that compressor up, cool the room back down, and get back down to that set temperature where you want to be.
That is absolutely fantastic. Now, before I go off on a dissertation about how excited I am about this, Jarod, what are your thoughts about this Chill Cube?
Yeah, I mean, I had the pleasant experience of sitting in our Tampa booth for 6 days, standing in our Tampa booth for 6 days, and we had a working display of the Chill Cube at the booth. And you've been to Tampa. There's thousands of people that come through, and the Chill Cube was the main star of the show. And I just loved watching everyday RVers walk under it. And I'll just share the funniest conversation I had with a gentleman that said, "This is the new 18K." So he had done his research. He knew we had an 18K AC, and I said, "Yep, this is the one." And he said, "All right, well, turn it on. I want to hear how quiet it is." And we were standing underneath the vent. And I said, "Well, it's on." He goes, "No, it's not. It's not on." I said, "No, it's running right now." And he put his hand up and then he kind of saw that it was on. He said, and I'll say, explicitive. He said, "I can't believe it's actually on right now. This is amazing. Where do I get one?" So it's kind of like the consumer interactions like that, to where, I said, okay, we're on the right track with this product, because it really resonates with consumers. And that's really what we're trying to do as a company, is innovate products that consumers really want. A lot of times in this industry, where people are pushing product out and I don't think people are really listening to everyday RVers and what they really want. So this is one of those cases where we listened, we innovated, and we came out with a great product.
That's fantastic. The one thing that comes to my mind is that some of these big fifth wheels and diesel motorhomes, right, they have 3 ACs. And I always have to warn the customer, do not turn all 3 ACs on at once. It's not going to work, and you run the risk of damaging your AC from low voltage or low amperage when it's going. But now, with something like that on a 50 amp plug, you could run 3 ACs at once without a big deal. Am I wrong in this assessment?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Just because of how efficient the units are. But, Jarod brought up another point, especially noise. So, this unit only rates at about 60 dB. And just to kind of give you a reference, 60 dB is basically like a conversation that you would have in your office. A new age dishwasher runs less than 60 dB. So the point to that is if this unit is running, you're standing right underneath it. Traditionally, you're going to hear a lot of noise, especially when the compressor cycles on and off. With this being a variable speed compressor, technically the compressor is always on. So that's why people can't believe how quiet it is. So you're not hearing that compressor cycle on and off. A lot of ACs on the market, their claim to fame is they're around 70 dBs. But just to kind of give you a difference between 60 dB and 70 dB, 70 dB is twice as loud as 60 dB. So all you have to do is go up 10 dB and you're twice as loud as the previous setting. So 60 dB is extremely quiet, and most of that noise is on the outside. Give you a quick story. I was at a campground with the variable speed compressor 18K running. This unit is running, and I can literally hear the neighbors cycling on and off over the Furrion Chill Cube.
That is phenomenal. So yeah, the quiet, we have customers complain about that all the time.
Sure.
Is this AC quieter than the one I had in my last camper? We had to turn the TV up. We still couldn't hear it properly. Conversations were difficult in the coach because of the AC. I'm sure a lot of them are a lot higher than 70 decibels. Being, an RV matchmaker for 15 years now, I've heard a lot. But, Jarod brought up a good point that, this person was so excited about it. And I'm just wondering, is it easy for, say, a certified RV tech to swap this out with an OEM AC?
Extremely easy. So first and foremost, it's only 2 parts. So when you're buying this unit, you're literally only buying the top unit and your ADB or your ceiling assembly. And when the installer goes to install it, all they're connecting is their 120 volt connections. So it's literally 3 wires. You have hot, neutral, and ground. There is no 12 volt wires. There is no thermostat wires, because another selling point to this unit is it has a wireless remote control. So you can control the unit from the controls on the ADB, which would be on your ceiling, or you have your wireless remote control. Wireless remote controls have been something that customers have been asking for a long time, and we listen to them. A lot of the manufacturers, even Furrion, in some of our previous models, we've come out with Bluetooth technology. But the thing is, with having an app on your phone, everybody has 15,000 apps on their phone. So they're searching for the app that they need. They're putting in all their passwords. By the time they do all of that, if you just have a simple remote control, we all have a TV remote at home. So this is just a very easy way to control the unit. And then also talking about the remote control, it has a mode called Follow Me. So follow me mode, basically, when you press that button, now anywhere where the customer is at with that remote control, it's going to read the set temperature there. A lot of units have the AC in the living room, for example, and then the kitchen's basically on the other side of that RV. So now it might be 70 degrees in that main room where you have a typical thermostat. Well, now holding that remote control with you, go over to the kitchen. Now it's going to be 70 degrees wherever that customer is at within that rig. So, really exciting stuff.
The holder's location. That is amazing.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Well, that's just using technology for convenience, comfort, and the quiet. Now you can have conversations. You can watch that drama, which might get a little bit quiet. You might be able to hear that movie that you're watching, and it's easy for the techs to install.
Absolutely.
I mean, Furrion's been innovating products for a long time. I mean, I was always really excited about, they had a TV, they have TVs and radios and other, the hot water heater. That hot water heater has taken a big innovation recently as well, right? Do you have that information off the top of your head? The tankless, yeah, that's your job, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I better have that information off the top of my head. So,
all right. Cool.
Yeah, so we've had the water heater out now for a few years. It's a 60,000 BTU unit. A lot of the other units on the market are typically 42 to 45,000 BTUs. So 60,000 BTUs is going to give you more heating power. It's also better when you go higher in elevation, because anything gas is obviously going to fall off as you go higher in elevation because the air gets thinner. It delivers 2.4 gallons per minute. Most of the competition delivers 1.5 gallons per minute. So you're getting about an extra gallon of hot water per minute. So, obviously if people have a shower, a sink, it's going to be able to keep up with the needs of the RV. It has freeze protection, of course. One of the innovative things with the Furrion unit is it has a vortex chamber. And what this vortex chamber does is it constantly mixes water so that you don't get a fluctuation of temperature, whether it be hot or cold. When somebody's taking a shower, for example, and somebody turns on another sink, this vortex chamber mixing the water, you're not going to get that fluctuation of temperature when somebody turns on another faucet. There, of course, are 3 door sizes available. So if the customer wants to replace anything out there as far as a tanked water heater, whether it be a 6-gallon, a 10-gallon, a 12-gallon, we have 3 different door sizes that are available to obviously achieve that installation. So it's a very straightforward installation, and the technology is there to stand up for the needs of what the customer is going to require as far as hot water.
You brought up a good point, that folks have difficulty with, especially with the traditional hot water heaters, is the altitude, right? How do you set it? How do you adjust it to make it right? But this one does it for you. It does it and mixes that water. It's just amazing innovation. And I think I saw a number, something like 140 gallons of hot water per hour. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, I guess with 2.4 gallons per minute, that adds up to about 140 gallons.
Right. And traditional, or I should say other ones that are on the market, they produce about 90 per hour. So again, 2.4 gallons per minute comparative to that 1.5 gallons per minute. And then you bring up elevation. So anything gas or anything propane, after 5,000 feet, every 1,000 feet that you go above 5,000 feet, you lose about 4% of the heating capability of that unit. So us starting at a higher BTU, even if you are losing a little bit of that as you go higher in elevation, obviously something compared to 42 or 45,000 BTU, you're going to get a lot more heating power there.
And you're only comparing to other tankless systems. If you are using a traditional hot water heater, you might be only at 8,000 or the most 12,000 BTU in a traditional tanked hot water heater. So this, again, is another game changer, best of breed for sure, in this new innovation of the tankless water heater.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to bring Melissa back up, because this has been a wonderful episode of RV Game Changer. Had so much fun learning about Lippert, the way they do business, the way they help the communities, the way they treat their team members, right? So I almost went there with employees. And then Furrion, being one of their major partners in crime here, creating these amazingly innovative, groundbreaking, game-changing products. Thanks, everyone, for joining me today. Anybody have any last words? Melissa, you've been kind of, out in the boondocks there a little bit. I appreciate your patience with us today, but you've had some pearls of wisdom earlier, so please share.
I just appreciate the opportunity of having us on here. I mean, you hit on two of the game-changing products that we sell within the Furrion portfolio of the Furrion ChillCube 18K and our tankless hot water heater. There are so many other innovative products that fall under some of our other brands, but yeah, I mean, Keith and Jarod nailed it today.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Jarod, what do you got?
Well, she kind of said it, right? So what happened, I think, post pandemic is, obviously RV shipments went down, and companies like us had a lot of time to noodle on, hey, when this thing comes back, we're going to have something better, more innovative for the customer, right? So I think we took that time as a company to really noodle on some pretty cool things like the ChillCube, and we've got some really cool suspension things that we're just launching now. Our tour coiling suspension, our Helix pin box. So
Can't wait to see all of that, because I've heard some of the products that we'll be carrying is going to be carrying those.
I guess the downturn in the industry caused us to refocus on innovation, and this is kind of some of the things that you're seeing come out right now. So I'm proud of the company, and just can't wait to see what we come up with next.
Thank you so much, Keith.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for having us. It's been very exciting to obviously talk about, the new products that we have. Obviously, to check out some of our other products, go online, come into your stores, please, please visit, please ask questions. We're obviously very happy to help. And again, just appreciate you having us on.
Today's episode of RV Game Changer is brought to you by RVing Today TV. If you're looking for RV Game Changer or anything to do with RVing and camping, you'll bet you'll find it on RVing Today TV. Visit rvgamechanger.tv, where you'll find a list of stations and networks carrying their shows, along with additional stories, news, and contests. To get a hold of me, go to RV Game Changer on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Have a great day, and God bless. Partnering with both Lippert and Furrion, together and separate. We love the products you're creating. We love the fact that, the only status quo is that you're continually innovating and making things better for the end user. And that's what game changing is all about. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.